Of Clark County, South Charleston, go ahead, get to your safe spot at this point. We stated earlier, 95.7 FM and AM 1290. If you are out on the roadways, go ahead and keep us tuned because we're going to continue to track these storms. If you're in your home, turn the radio on or the television all the way up. Go ahead, get to your safe spot. We're going to continue to tell you about these storms working through. And when you've got the all clear, we're going to let you know. So stay there until we tell you that it's safe to come out. South Charleston, this storm is right on top of you. You can see the rotation in the wind flow. We've got red and green very close to one another, indicating rotation of the winds. Basically, what happens is the radar beam is sent out. It can see the falling particles and how they are moving within the environment. If it sees the particles are blowing away, they know the winds are moving in that direction. If the particles are blowing towards the radar, then we're going to get that green on radar. And with the radar beam telling us that you can see some very close winds to one another, the particles are moving very fast just next to each other. We know that they are starting to rotate. And as Brett was mentioning earlier, we did get local law enforcement confirming that there is, or potentially saying that there is a tornado moving through parts of South Charleston.
And this is a new tornado warning that was just issued. It does include South Charleston and the far eastern portions of Clark County. It's been extended until 5:30 p.m. The previous warning is until 5:15, just about another 10 minutes. But if you're in the South Charleston area, rotation right overhead. We've had law enforcement report a tornado, so you'll want to take shelter at this very moment. Let's zoom back closer and take a look at that rotation moving through South Charleston. And we've got some roads on the map here. I'm going to step in front of the chroma key to show you some of these roads that we've got on the map. We've got, I believe this is US 42, I believe, going through South Charleston. The rotation, if it's not right over downtown, it is just to the west. So, South Charleston, get to your safe place immediately. This is going to be the small windowless interior room. Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible. The lowest level of your home. Stay away from any doors or windows as this storm continues to move through. Now, the one thing I want to point out, the rotation, it's not as tight as it has been, but we are still seeing some of the greens and reds coming together. And again, we have had law enforcement report via the National Weather Service that there is a tornado moving to the east towards the South Charleston area.
Now, I know that there is, it's not a very populated area over towards South Charleston. We've got some small cities and towns that are right around that. A lot of it is farm field, but still, that doesn't really matter. If you're hearing the sound of my voice and you live in southern parts of Clark County near the South Charleston area, go ahead, take cover. Don't go outside and try and see it because this is what we would call a rain-wrapped potential of a tornado. So you're not going to see this coming if it is headed in your direction as we continue to see this heavy rainfall coming through. I want to do a little recap. I did get a question on Twitter. This is from Jim. I believe his name is Dabble, and he's asking, so once the current storm clears our area, is the worst of it behind us? Unfortunately, no, because we are going to watch this round of storms continuing to work towards the east, and then we have another round of storms that's going to be coming in behind it. To give you some perspective, we actually still have a tornado watch in effect until 8 o'clock this evening, so that's why we are still concerned about the potential of more severe weather coming in and the added threat of tornadic activity as well. I'm going to go over to the wall if we can go ahead and take this full screen because I want to show this a little bit better. But we've got this looping for you, showing you the first line of storms working through the Miami Valley, and then we've got that second line. Maybe, Brett, you can go over there and point out where that second line is.
So the second line itself is the cold front back to the west that we've been talking about. Out ahead of that cold front, the air mass is just very unstable, and so that's why we've seen these thunderstorms develop. The air mass was ripe, right? We saw some sunshine today, and that didn't help things. That actually made the atmosphere more unstable. Out ahead of that cold front, too, in what we call the warm sector, there was some what we call directional shear, some wind shear, and that's winds turning with height in the atmosphere. And sure enough, we ended up seeing a couple of tornado warnings, which is what we've got now. And you can see this is just the first of it. As McCall had mentioned, we've got another line of showers and thunderstorms back to the west, moving into parts of Indiana. We're still going to have to deal with this later on this evening. So it's going to be a few more hours, likely closer to 11 o'clock or midnight tonight before we are completely out of the woods. Now, one thing I want to mention, about 4 o'clock, we were on the air tracking that tornado warning through much of Montgomery County, including the Dayton Metro. We told you if you're at work, don't leave. It is not safe. But at this point, if you're in the Dayton Metro, I think that you're safe now to head home as the tornadic storm has now moved off to the east. So at this point, use caution, of course, on your way home, but at this point, there is no longer a immediate tornado threat in the Dayton Metro, as well as areas along I-75 and points to the north. At this point, our concern continues to be this storm, which at this point, it may have moved out of the area. You can see this inflow notch just to the east of Clark County, just to the east of South Charleston. But if we can, we'll get some velocity data on the map. And you can still see there could be some rotation just to the east-northeast of South Charleston. This is along Highway 42, which is going between London and South Charleston. At this point, we have not had any visual confirmation here at the studios, but we have had law enforcement report a tornado that was at the time just southwest of South Charleston, moving to the east. That tornado warning goes again until 5:30 p.m. We are coming up at 5:10 p.m. We've been on the air for a little over an hour and a half now tracking these storms. McCall?
Yeah, as Brett mentioned, we're going to continue to monitor the threat for these very strong storms. We've been with you for over an hour now looking at the potential of tornadoes moving through our area. We have only had the one report of a possibility of a tornado over towards South Charleston by law enforcement just about 10 to 15 minutes ago. That center of circulation has now shifted to the east for the most part. Continue to stay in your safe spot at least for a little bit longer in South Charleston, because even if the rotating part of the storm is to your east, we're still looking at some very heavy rainfall, lightning there, and perhaps some gusty winds. A lot of the times behind tornadic activity, we call it the rear inflow. That's where we could see some very strong winds wrapping in behind the storm itself. So it's not always the threat out ahead of it or under it. You can still see some very strong winds enhancing in behind the storm. Tornado warning continues until 5:15 for South Charleston, and then it does still extend until 5:30, but it does look like the worst part of the storm is now pushing to your east. We are in the clear for the time being for anyone along Interstate 75 and back to the west. This does include Salina, Greenville, Eaton, Richmond, Hamilton, and parts of Butler County, the Dayton Metro, Troy, as well as Sidney. Still some active weather taking place in Warren and now moving into Clinton County as well. We have not seen any indications of severe weather with this part of the line, but we are going to continue to monitor that. I do believe that we have some video from Facebook. This is of South Charleston, and they are saying that they perhaps saw a funnel cloud in this video. Tough to tell at this point. We're going to take a little bit of a closer look, but what you can see, what appears to be perhaps a wall cloud. But you can't really see much of it. You can see the clear skies out ahead of that storm. The lowering of the cloud, absolutely. And without being there firsthand, can't really tell the rotation, but you can see some very heavy rain just below that cloud.
Yeah, if possible, if we could, let's put that video behind me, because I do want to talk about what we're seeing in that video. As we did see the cloud lowering, this was near South Charleston a little bit ago, as that tornado warning was in effect for that area. As you can see, there is that cloud lowering right here, and it's hard to see much of anything, but if there was a tornado, it would be spawning on the lower level of this cloud. Very difficult to see, one, because the camera is obviously very far away from this cloud itself, but also there's a lot of heavy rain falling, as we've been talking about. Any tornado that's out there likely would not be seen simply because of the amount of rain that has been falling. But an interesting video there that we're going to keep a close eye on this, and of course, as we head throughout the next little while, we'll likely get more pictures and video in.
Yes, exactly. We still have live Doppler 7 radar up. We've got our team out checking on the potential of damage from these cluster line of storms, should I say, that came through our area over the last hour and a half. This is now pushing to the east, and we're going to be watching another line that may be moving in from the west. Cheryl, did you have something?
Yes, we are getting reports now of damage. So for those venturing out, maybe they think it looks a little better where they live, but you got to be careful driving. Just to give you a few examples, a tree down at Wayne and Wyoming Avenues in Dayton. Trees down in the area of 235 and 68 near Xenia. Heavy debris in the 7100 block of Meeker Road in Butler Township. Tree branches down in Vandalia at Green Turtle and Turtleback Drives. Tree down at 10,990 Dayton-Cincinnati Pike in Miami Township. Tree down in New Lebanon on Dayton-Farmersville Road. Even debris on the roadway and in Xenia Township. This is barn damage, Alex, is that what you're telling me? Okay, barn damage in Xenia Township. We're going to see this video here. And as McCall and Brett were saying, the storm moved through Xenia.
Yeah, those are definitely damaging winds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, Gabrielle Enright is on the phone. Gabrielle, so did you take this video?
I'm getting a lot of video being sent to me from around where I am right now. I'm just a little bit east of Xenia, and I'm getting Snapchats, videos, and there was definitely some intense wind that went through here, and also the rain. I mean, I'm not surprised that we were under a flash flood warning at one point because the amount of rain, many of the farm fields around me are flooded. So whatever went through here, a lot of people were able to capture it, and I'm just now starting to retweet and send McCall and Brett some images so they can take closer looks at it. But the lightning here is still very intense, even though the rain has calmed down a little bit. And I'm also getting some really interesting pictures of some damage along Clifton Road, like in the Clark, Greene County area. They're saying power lines are down. So, Cheryl, what you were saying is that even though it looks as though things are pretty calm, there's still a lot out there that could be very dangerous.
Like a lot of pieces of roof and barn are sort of hanging. What do you make of that, McCall?
Well, so as we're scanning through this video, and we'll continue to play it for you, I want you to focus on the trees themselves. And every once in a while, when we get a nice little pan of the trees, can we bring that video back up if you get a chance? But in that video itself, we did see that there may have been some debris that was lofted up in the trees. And those are some things that we try to pay very close attention to when we're sending out survey teams. The National Weather Service may send somebody out to survey that. Straight line winds will take debris damage and it will push it to the ground and out in one direction. When we're talking about tornadic damage, that's when we see things being picked up, carried away, lofted up into trees. So it'll be very interesting to see more video and more images coming in. We only saw just a brief clip there over towards the Xenia area where we did see what appeared to show some debris up in the trees. So, and that's just a little snippet of what's going on there. We've got velocity scan going on behind me on live Doppler 7 radar. It does appear that the rotating winds have now moved off to the east. I know we still have a tornado warning for parts of eastern Clark County. Doesn't look as though that we are dealing with any rotating winds in that area anymore. South Charleston, we told you to take your shelter to your safe spot earlier. You can go ahead and come out of your safe spot. Still some very heavy rainfall in parts of Clark and Greene County, now east of Xenia, where we were just speaking with Gabrielle Enright, getting a little bit of some clearing back to our west. Heavy rainfall moving through Warren and then into Clinton County. But this is not the end of it for us tonight. Keep in mind, sunset is after 7 o'clock, and sun is what we need to create instability. That helps us to heat up, and that helps our environment to re-energize, and we're starting to see that. Here's a live camera shot over a live Doppler 7 radar. In fact, there's our Ray Dome, and you can see clouds are beginning to break for more sunshine. Temperatures, they didn't really move much. We're still sitting at 61. We've got the warm air. We're getting the sunshine. The moisture is still in place. These are all things that help to create an unstable environment. We're still getting some more sunshine over downtown as well. You can see the clouds beginning to break. And further off to the west in Indiana, if you can pull up the radar again, Brett, we are seeing that satellite, in fact, is showing that clearing. We've got another line that is redeveloping. You can see stretching through parts of Illinois, but we've got the cloud cover that's breaking into central and southern Indiana. Severe thunderstorm warnings starting to be reissued along that line. So that is what we're going to continue to watch as we head into the next few hours. We've got this first round that came through. We've got another line, the actual cold front that is going to be coming in as we head into this evening. Cheryl, you said that I think you have Kate on the phone?
Yes, and we do have a viewer, Brian Dugan, who sent us a picture that Clifton Road in Clark and Greene County is impassable, trees down and power lines down there. So we'll hope to get that picture on the air. And Kate Bartley is at a house in Harrison Township where there is a tree down, Kate?
Yes, Cheryl, we are right on the line of Harrison Township and Dayton, just off of Dixie on Fieldstone. I want to flip the camera around and show you what we're seeing. A little hard to spot it from this perspective, but look at the main portion of this house and toward the roof. You can see where a tree actually fell on top of the roof, and then it looks like it's splintered into several chunks and branches of the limb. Toward the right, if you see that van, you can just sort of to the left of that in the background see where several pieces of that tree have broken apart and they're on top of the house. We were able to briefly talk with a woman who lives here. She was inside trying to take shelter as this storm was passing through, and that's when the tree came down. Some damage to the roof and also some significant damage to the actual side of her house. My photographer, Michael Burianic, is out there. He's talking to her now, getting some more images of the side of the house that we'll be able to use on air and on Facebook and Twitter and our WHIO.com website, as well as our news and weather apps. And I'm in here just able to communicate the latest information to you. We went through a lot of really nasty rain in the last hour or so. The significant problem right now isn't the rain. It's pretty much stopped, but we are seeing major ponding on roads. We were taking back roads to kind of get here because the highways were just packed. On Siebenthal, or especially, major ponding problems where cars were just losing traction as they tried to drive through some of the puddles that are sitting on the road. I see my photographer, Michael, is actually, he just came back after talking to this woman, so I'm going to get some more information from him. But you can see significant damage to this house on Fieldstone right now. We're going to stay here. We're going to get the latest conditions, and we will update you with any new information. Michael, do you have anything else you want to add right now? I know you just talked to this woman.
No, she just said that she has...
You want to lean in a little bit?
No. She just says she has a little bit... It looks like a tree, like a major tree branch fell off of this tree by her house. She said it put a pretty decent-sized hole into her bathroom. And
they were inside taking shelter as this happened.
Yeah, she said she heard that the warnings were coming out over the stations, and she took shelter at the time, and she came out to find this pretty gaping branch into the roof.
Yeah.
And then she looks like she has a small shed over behind the house. That looks like it's pretty much destroyed. You probably can't see it from the shot we have set up, but its roof is definitely taken off. So she said she's fine. That's the most important part, is she's okay. She's got a little bit of damage she has to deal with now. So
again, you can just see a little hard from this perspective, but the main portion of the house, if you look at the roof, the limb there fell and splintered, and then the rest of the tree is a little off to the right. You can sort of see it behind the minivan. This is just into Dayton off of Dixie on Fieldstone. We're going to be here and update you on the latest conditions as they continue to change throughout this evening. Kate Bartley, News Center 7.
All right, thank you, Kate. I do want to do a quick recap of exactly what we've got watch warning advisory-wise. At this point, all tornado warnings have been canceled or have expired, so there's some good news there, but we still have a number of flash flood warnings, flood watch, and also a tornado watch. So here's live Doppler 7. Still have some very heavy rain moving through parts of Logan, Champaign, Clark, Greene counties, as well as parts of Clinton County, as well as Warren County. If you're in Clear Creek Township, over towards Wilmington, even over towards Jamestown, very heavy rain continues to fall at the moment. Flash flood warning continues for all the counties in the purple shade. That's frankly most of the Miami Valley, going until 7 p.m. this evening, just over 1 hour and 30 minutes from now. On top of that, we are continuing to keep a very close eye on this very heavy rain still moving through. We also have that flash flood watch, which goes until 2 a.m. tonight. We've had a lot of rain lately. The ground is very saturated, and this rain that we've gotten is certainly not helping things. Streams, creeks, and rivers are going to be on the rise over the next 24 hours, likely cresting around tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening. And again, that tornado watch continues until 8 p.m. for the entire Miami Valley, which is just about another 2.5 hours from now. And again, there is still more shower and thunderstorm activity back to the west that we are keeping a very close eye on. At this point, again, the heaviest rain moving through parts of eastern Greene County, northern Warren County, and parts of Clinton County as well. Flash flood until 7 p.m. Let's see if we can get a wider view of exactly what we're tracking going forward from here. This line continues to move off to the east and northeast. Likely, this is going to be the strongest of what we're going to be seeing, but we're by no means out of the woods yet. We've got a second line of thunderstorms developing back in parts of Illinois. And okay, so this is video from Charleston Falls, and you can see just the amount of water on the left side of your screen coming down those falls. That is just a good indication as to how much rain we've gotten here over the past couple of days, and of course the snowfall, and of course the heavy rain that we're tracking right now. But the second line of thunderstorms back in parts of Illinois, excuse me, is going to be our next thing to watch. McCall?
Yeah, as you mentioned, we're watching this very strong line of storms that's coming through. We've been tracking it. We're beginning to see some breaks in the clouds off to our west that is going to allow that environment to re-energize. And then we still have that cold front that's expected to come in later on this evening, Cheryl.
And no one is happy to hear that there's more rain coming later, McCall and Brett, because Kate was mentioning the major ponding on the roads as she was getting to that house in Harrison Township where the tree fell on top. And we've got Sean Cudahy in Troy on the phone. And Sean, you're seeing a lot of flooding there as well.
Yeah, Cheryl, I'm here in Troy, as you mentioned, and Brett was talking about all that water that we've seen. Certainly, you can see some of that right here. We're in Treasure Island Park where it's totally flooded out. The good news, as you can see looking out here, really not a lot of storm activity right now. We got the full blast of the rain, the wind. Lightning and thunder has really just died down in the last couple of minutes while we've been standing out here. Actually, I just saw a bolt of lightning off there in the distance. Over here, I want to show you, you can actually see a park bench that's basically totally covered. That should be a dry area at this point. Part of the parking lot in this Treasure Island Park also underwater here. So you want to try to avoid this area. As we always say, if you see standing water like that, you want to find a different way to go around. But again, the good news here in Troy, for the time being at least, we're not seeing any rain. It's actually totally dry right now. Minimal lightning and thunder compared to just a few minutes ago, although we did just see some a few minutes ago. The other big issue right here in Miami County right now is that the 911 system remains down at this point. You're going to want to call 937-440-9911 at this point. That's until further notice. So we'll keep monitoring the conditions out here in Troy as well. But again, nice and dry for the time being.
Okay, well, we've got some more footage here of what looks to be some flooding in West Elkton. We've continued to watch some very heavy rainfall, thunderstorms coming through. We've had a couple of tornado warnings issued, seeing damage because of these severe storms, and still dealing with the potential of more storms coming in. We'll try and get that video to you in just a moment, or that I'm sure that may be the image on the left-hand side of your screen.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get that over here on the big screen. In fact, let's just take it full screen because a very interesting photo there. Okay, so like what we're seeing here is the leading edge of those storms. At this point, and if we can bring that up on the chroma key, that'd be great. What we're seeing on the left side is that leading edge. I think this is a shelf cloud here that we're seeing. Behind that shelf cloud, you can see very heavy rain, torrential rain, next to none visibility. I don't think that this is a funnel cloud, folks, but again, that is something that we're going to keep a very close eye on. Cheryl, you've got somebody on the phone?
I believe it's
Sheriff Gene Fisher from Greene County joins us now. Sheriff, you had quite a storm go through. What are the conditions like now in Greene County?
Yes, we did. It came through north of Xenia, and right now I'm on my way to Clifton. I've seen some trees down. We're supposed to have some barns in the Clifton area, outside Clifton down, and the guys have also been working Ludlow Road for trees down and checking houses there. So we've got some damage around, and still working on trying to put everything together. But one thing I am seeing is a lot of high water here. So we're going to have a lot of roads that are going to be affected by high water. So it's that's important for everybody to remember if they do get outbound.
We did hear one of our viewers tell us that Clifton Road was impassable because of trees down and power lines down. What is your advice to the people who live in Greene County?
Well, right now, I think we've identified a lot of the areas that were damaged. I might recommend people stay home. If there's no need for them to get out, home's the safest place right now.
Are they going to come across a lot of debris on the roads if they do try to venture out?
It is, we've also got reports of trees laying against wires. So, we got to treat those as live wires. So it's just safe not to go into any of the damaged areas.
And if someone does come into
on
it,
Clifton Road now, there's a house that's it's got debris all over the field here.
wow.
It's Clark Run and Clifton Road.
So some powerful winds went through.
It looks, yeah, we'll go back and talk to the people back there.
If someone does come in contact with the power lines, you know, give us the best advice there, because I know it's a very scary situation if you're driving along and there are power lines on your vehicle or in the road in front of you. What do you do?
I would, just stay back. Let the fire department and first responders take care of that. We're going to stay back and get a hold of DPNL and have them come out.
Okay, anything else you want to add, Sheriff Fisher?
Nope. This house I'm pulling up to, the roof is missing off of a barn. Go back and talk to the owners.
Is that the one at Clark Run that you were mentioning?
Yeah, Clifton and Clark Run.
Clifton and Clark Run. Okay, well, you be safe. We hope that your deputies are safe, and thank you for the information. Wish you the best. And you heard the Sheriff of Greene County there, Gene Fisher, tell you to stay in if you don't have to go out.
Yeah, because even though the storms are now pulling off to the east, there's obviously some damage and some power lines that have come down in parts of the Miami Valley. So you want to make sure that you stay a little bit safer this evening. If you don't have to go out, I would suggest just staying home, keep it indoors this evening, because we're not done with the weather quite yet. Live Doppler 7 radar, we're getting the latest sweeps, and you can see some very heavy rainfall through parts of Clark County, Eastern Greene, and now in Warren and Clinton counties, where we've got some heavy rain, thunder, lightning, and gusty winds. We're going to take you through a quick little forecast. If you want to go ahead and take this full screen, you can. But we've got some clouds breaking off to our south and west. We're giving you a regional view of what's going on. And what you do see is that we've got another line that is now forming in parts of Illinois. We still have a tornado watch that's in effect for the Miami Valley. And if you look very closely, you may see that red shading through eastern Illinois and Indiana. That's actually the tornado watch, because conditions out ahead of this line are coming back together, and there is the potential that we may even have some more tornadic activity. We will have to watch for any isolated storms that may fire off out ahead of the line. When the actual line gets here, most likely we're going to be dealing with a straight line wind event, and it's going to take some hours before it does work its way into our area. Tornado watch issued by the National Weather Service until 8 p.m. This was issued shortly after 1 or 2 o'clock this afternoon in advance of the cluster of storms that were moving in, and it was very well placed and issued because we did have a few tornado warnings with those storms that came through. Insult to injury, we've had some very heavy rainfall with a warm front that came through this morning. In fact, we had record rainfall recorded at the Dayton International Airport, over 2 inches of rain, and that was before we saw this second batch of rain that came through. So with the very saturated ground and more rain on the way, flash flooding potential is there. Flash flood watch continues until 2 a.m. We'll finally start to get a chance to dry out. So let me take you through Futurecast very quickly here. This is through this 5:30 hour, and you can see generally showing the chances for some activity trying to work through. We get you through about 9:30. This is when we can start to see another round of storms starting to work its area way back through, should I say. Heavy rainfall, gusty winds, perhaps some rotating storms within that as well. Tornado watch will expire at around 8 p.m. A few leftover sprinkles tonight may transition over to flurries by tomorrow morning. It is the cold air that's rushing in with this cold front that's actually helping to create the severe weather we're seeing tonight. As we get towards early tomorrow morning, a few flurries may be left over. We'll keep it partly sunny through the day and may even still see a few lingering flurries far northeast. It's going to be a blustery, cool day, highs only into the low 40s. So here's a recap of tonight, tomorrow's forecast. 34 tonight. We'll watch those evening storms ending, perhaps a flurry late. And then tomorrow, 41 degrees with a chance for those flurries early. And then we'll get the clouds to break for some sunshine. 5-day forecast. We will watch some more showers coming back in Thursday evening. May even see a few more snow showers Friday, and then it looks at this point we're going to have a dry weekend ahead. Cheryl?
We are going to check in now with Clark County Sheriff Deb Burchett. Sheriff, we know that a tornado had been spotted by law enforcement. I'm not sure if that was one of your deputies near South Charleston, probably within the half hour. What can you tell us about what your deputies saw, what you have seen, and the conditions left behind in Clark County?
Well, actually, the tornado was spotted by the South Charleston Police Department, and I had units down there.
and our one unit went to the grade school, Miami View Grade School down there, because they were still students in the school. So the major was down there with those students to make sure that nothing happened. As far as injuries, we have no injuries. We do have some trees down, but no injuries whatsoever at this point.
Are you getting a lot of reports of damage, things like trees down, power lines down, some roof damage on barns and other structures?
The only thing that we have received at this point is just trees down. We have flooding on the roadways, on the county roadways, but we have not seen any damage. We had one home that called in. They said that we had a basement that collapsed over on Seminole Avenue, but we're not for sure. You know, that wasn't near where the tornado may have been, and so we're not sure if it was just the amount of water that has been, you know, going through Seminole that may have made that basement collapse.
And you've probably heard our meteorologist talking about more rain coming in this evening. What is your advice to the residents of Clark County?
Well, if they don't have to go out, I would suggest they stay off of the roadways, because there is so many of our county roadways that are flooding over right at this point.
Okay. Sheriff Deb Burchett of Clark County, we thank you for joining us. You stay safe, too, out there.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
So we're going to take a look here, of course, with these storms having moved through. We've got the power outage map here on the Storm Center. If we can, let's pull that up here full screen, as we do have a number of outages across the region. Unfortunately, with the white background, it's hard to see, but we are seeing a number of outages in the area, including those areas that we had tornado warnings. And we've got a full list of these power outages. Just go to WHIO.com. There's a story right there with the updated outage information, as well as all the other videos and pictures that we've had here come in throughout the afternoon. And McCall's back at the wall. You've got some more information?
No, we're just continuing to keep a very close eye on the radar and what's coming in as we look into the next round potential of storms as we head towards later on this evening. You can see a lot of purple shading on live Doppler 7 radar as we get the latest scans. That is actually a flash flood warning that has been issued for the most of the Miami Valley as we continue to watch that very heavy rainfall, though, is worked through. The way that we deal with flooding is you get the very heavy rain, and then it floods those smaller creeks and streams and continues to head downward, and then we could see it enhancing those other rivers further south. So we're going to watch that, and then we've got even more rainfall that's coming in later on this evening. So that's what we're going to have to watch out for. We've got some saturated ground. We have our reporters out and about continuing to talk about the flooding. We had Kate Bartley that was out in Traffic Tracker. She was watching that very heavy rainfall coming through, and she's continuing to monitor that as well. I wanted to show you the satellite radar. You can see the clouds are beginning to break back to our west, and this is what is quite concerning for us as we head towards later on this evening. Yes, we're going to start to see a break in the heavy rainfall for the moment, but then the actual cold front itself, which is now organizing in northwestern Indiana back into south central parts of Illinois, is going to continue to push to the east. And Futurecast is going to show that for you. As we advance along in time, you can see some very active weather even through that 9-10 o'clock hour tonight. Tornado watch in effect until 8 p.m. Then we transition over to a straight line wind potential. So even though we are going to watch the tornado watch set to expire at 8, we're going to have to watch out for these storms in particular coming in during 8-9 o'clock that could produce some damaging straight line winds. This is expected to slowly shift to the east by 10:30, 11 o'clock. That's when we can start to bring down that threat for severe weather, and we'll start to be in the clear. Even through the night, there is a chance for a few spotty showers that may mix and change over to a few flurries by early tomorrow morning. Flash flood watches until 2 a.m. because of that second round of rain. We have that tornado watch until 8 p.m. this evening, so we are not done with the weather quite yet. You can see that image off on the left-hand side of your screen. That is from one of our viewers, which appears to be a shelf cloud, and shelf clouds are indicative of straight line winds. Basically, what happens is you get the thunderstorm itself, some very heavy rain, the cool air within the storm that comes clashing down to the ground and pushes out ahead of the storm. And what it does is it takes the warm air in front of it and lifts it up over it, and it creates that shelf appearance. And then we could potentially see straight line wind damage. That is not associated with tornadic activity. That being said, we did see a couple of rotating storms and the potential of actual tornado touchdowns in parts of the Miami Valley. Here is that first line that came through. We started tracking it around 3:30, 4 o'clock off to our west. We came on live shortly after 4 o'clock this afternoon and watched it race through our area, producing a few tornado warnings and a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings as well. That line is now pushing to the east. We've got a tornado warning in southeastern parts of Columbus area, as well as a severe thunderstorm warning. We'll see a little bit of a lull, but that's going to allow our environment to re-energize, and then the cold front comes in. And if you look closely here, just south of Champaign, Illinois, we've got a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings that are now redeveloping with that line as it's moving into the environment. Tornado watch does go until 8 p.m. this evening. So as I mentioned, we continue to look at the threat. We've got a live video off on the left-hand side of your screen. Not sure exactly if that is Kate Bartley or who we have traveling out there now, but what you can see is the much calmer weather is beginning to move in. We've got our live camera that's now following the storm as it's continuing to push to the east. That's what you're seeing on the left-hand side of your screen. But for the most part, the strong, severe storms that we had coming through from 4 o'clock till about now, it's 5:38, coming up on 5:39, is now pulling off to the east. Just some leftover showers. That being said, we've seen a lot of damage, and Brett just told you a few moments ago, we've got a few hundred people without power because of those damaging winds. We've had some saturated ground, which allowed the damaging winds to perhaps blow down some trees and power lines and create that power outage effect. Cheryl?
And McCall, despite the break in the weather that a lot of people are seeing right now, you've mentioned, both you and Brett, that the tornado watch goes until 8 o'clock. So we are going to see more rain, more storms this evening potentially. And this is a really good time to get the WHIO weather app. If you haven't downloaded it, just search WHIO weather in your app store. You can download it on your electronic device. If you go to bed tonight and you're worried you're going to miss a tornado warning, it will go off. It will let you know, and unless you're an extremely heavy sleeper, it'll wake you up. Sean Cudahy is in Troy still, I believe. And Sean, what are you seeing in Troy?
Yeah, Cheryl, we're continuing to enjoy a few minutes of calm out here in Troy as that system moved out in the last half hour to 45 minutes or so from this area. I do want to show you, McCall mentioned the sunlight, sort of the fuel behind this next line of storms that continues to develop west of where we are. You can see some of those patches of sunlight off in the distance here. However, a sign that things continue to be troublesome where we are here in Troy, that is the water levels continue to rise from all that rainfall we've seen. I want to show you out here. We're in a park here in Troy, and there's a couple benches out there in the distance. My photographer Steve pointed out in just the last half hour or so, we could still see the arms on those benches. Those have now disappeared, so that water level continues to rise where the Great Miami has overflowed its banks. Looking out into the river right now, I can't see anything at the moment, but we have periodically seen debris floating down the river here. So there's a number of tree limbs that have fallen off, and those continue to float down the riverway right now, although you can't see any looking off there in the distance. We again, the rain has calmed down. We haven't heard any lightning or thunder for the last 20 minutes or so here in Troy, but we will stay out here and continue to monitor these conditions. Again, enjoying a little bit of calm here for the time being. Cheryl?
Reports we are getting, thank you, Sean. We are getting reports of significant damage in Greene County, north of Xenia, in the area of Ludlow Road, Clifton Road, and US 35 and 235 and 68. Damage to barns, trees, and other buildings. So Brett has some storm report damage now on the map behind you.
Yeah, we've got a lot of information coming in, pictures and videos and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and use our touchscreen here, and we'll zoom in on some of the storm reports that we've gotten across the Miami Valley thus far this evening. A tree damage report there looks like it was in Houston Woods. I hope I'm saying that correctly. That occurred about 3:35 p.m. this evening. A lot of hail reports as well in parts of Darke County. 1.3 inches there was the diameter just before 4 p.m. We're going to take the camera and pan further closer to the Dayton Metro, as there have been a number of other tree damage reports, as well as that reported tornado as well earlier this evening. It looks like just to the northwest in the Miamisburg area, that icon might be off just a bit. There was some thunderstorm wind damage at about 4:20 p.m. Up near Vandalia as well, near 4:27 p.m. Some tree damage in parts of Clark County, or rather near Xenia, near 4:45 p.m. And of course, we all remember the reported tornado which came in via law enforcement near South Charleston, on the bottom of that icon at 4:57 p.m. And again, at this point, no severe weather other than flash flood warnings continue at this hour. The big concern at this point for us is the atmosphere recharging. McCall's back in front of the wall here, and you'll be able to talk more about that.
Yeah, we had this line of storms that came through. We had a couple of tornado warnings associated with it, along with some severe thunderstorm warnings. Did hear that when the sirens were issued in South Charleston, there were some track teams that were outdoors. They did take shelter, and they did move inside the elementary school, which is exactly what you need to do when a tornado warning is issued or you hear those tornado sirens. This line is moving through. It took about 2 hours to go from our western part of our viewing area to the eastern part of our viewing area, and is now exiting, but not too far off. Already seeing those clouds breaking, which you can see coming through central parts of Indiana. In the last frame of this loop, we've got the sunshine coming back out, and that sunshine is what's going to re-energize our environment. So we've got a couple more hours where we're going to be sitting in the lull, and then we're going to have to watch out for the actual cold front. And it's a pretty potent one that stretches from southwestern Michigan through northwestern Indiana, and now is moving through southeastern Illinois. And it is going to move right back into the areas that are starting to get themselves unstable once again and feed on that environment, allowing for some strong storms to be produced again. We're getting in close. Thank you, Brett. We're taking a look at the line itself just south of Champaign, where we've got a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings already being reissued. This is satellite and radar, and we've got black and white showing here. And where you get the darker shadings, where you get the black, that's where the skies are clearing. The white are the clouds. So you can see the clouds are beginning to break, and we are seeing some more clearing through parts of Indiana. Temperatures are coming back up. We did just take a look at our surface temperatures still locally. Even when the storms came through, we're still sitting in the 60s. And sunset isn't until after 7 o'clock. So we have time to continue to warm before those storms get here. Flash flood watch persists until 2 o'clock late tonight, early tomorrow morning. We've got a tornado watch that's in the entire Miami Valley until 8 p.m. this evening, as we have the potential for that severe weather to move back in and possibly bringing the threat for more tornadic activity as well. So we'll continue to monitor that, Cheryl.
Okay, and we're going to take a break from our weather coverage, which of course is most important because it affects everybody who's watching. But we do have some breaking news. You're looking live at another story we're following closely. This is breaking news out of San Bruno, California. A woman shooting allegedly opened fire inside the YouTube headquarters here, and that shooter is confirmed dead. We're hearing there are at least 3 people at an area hospital in California. 1 is in critical condition. This was an active shooter situation a little while ago. People were running outside, screaming, according to people on the scene. This is the YouTube building in San Bruno, California. The suspected shooter was a woman, and she's dead. Ambulances transported perhaps 4 or 5 patients to hospitals after the shooting. Their conditions have not been disclosed, but you can see the video here. People standing around outside the YouTube building in San Bruno. And the shooter here is dead. Obviously, it's much too early to have heard anything about a motive or the reason behind this shooting, but we did want to bring you that breaking news. And now we want to go back to our weather coverage with you, Brett.
Yeah, so, okay, let's do a quick recap here. We've been on the air since just before 4 o'clock, so we're coming up on 2 hours now here of wall-to-wall coverage. We've had a number of severe thunderstorm, flash flood, and tornado warnings. At this point, all that we have left are flash flood warnings, and that's all the counties in the purple shade behind me. We'll zoom in closer, and let me go ahead and get some updated information on the map. Most of those counties under that flash flood warning until now 6:45 and 7:30 from the counties south of I-70. And at this point, The severe threat remains somewhat minimal, with the exception of Clinton County, still seeing some very heavy rain. And we'll zoom in closer, and you can see just how bright those reds are, how dark those are, indicating very heavy rain. On top of that, we are seeing a lot of lightning strikes as well. In fact, within Clinton County, we have had over 34 lightning strikes in just the past 15 minutes. So a very electric storm taking place. However, there is no rotation that is being seen with this storm, which is some good news here. I'm going to go ahead and quickly put on, you can see that's where the Wilmington radar is, and we'll see if we can quickly put the velocity scans on. And obviously with the radar there right in the middle, we're not getting an immediate return. But aside from that, we're not seeing any signs of rotation there within Clinton County, which is some good news. But the heavy rain continues to fall. And again, that flash flood warning does continue for a little bit longer. Sure.
Okay. Kate Bartley's been out in our storm tracker this afternoon, and she's been talking to a woman who's had damage. And Kate, what are you finding out there?
Now, Cheryl, I want to actually have my photographer, Mike, step up and show you some of this damage first. This is Fieldstone Drive in Dayton, and you can see where an ash tree fell on top of this woman's house. She says it damaged the bathroom, several points on the roof, at least 8 or 9, she said, where it just went right inside her roof and into her house. Damaged her shed as well, a lot of gutter damage, siding damage. We're talking about a lot that happened all of a sudden. This happened to Anita Ellis. If you don't mind stepping in, Anita, and kind of telling me, what were you doing? What did it sound like?
I was listening to the weather on TV, and my heart's still racing. I heard a big, it sounded like loud thunder. And I was running from the TV back into the hallway, and something just made me open my bathroom door, and I could see right out the door. And before that, it's been raining hard and storming all day. And right after that happened, it quit.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing here right now, but you're telling me you've lived here 30 plus years and you've never had storm damage, anything comparing to this?
No, not at all. And that roof is probably 4 years old.
And as Michael pans over to show us some of this damage again, I mean, kind of outline some of it for me. You said, 8 or 9 points where it punctured the roof?
Yeah, where the whole big branch, the guy with he was showing me. The
drone. A neighbor of yours is sending a drone up, yeah.
But the whole big branch went into my roof in about 8 different places that I know of so far. Plus took the roof off my shed and into my bathroom, knocked the meter, my power meter, off of my house. I can't even go in my backyard to see what's back there. They told me to stay away.
A natural question right now might be, why aren't there any emergency crews here? But they came, they turned off the power, and now what?
I don't know. They said, the fire department said that they would call DP&L.
So you're just waiting. You have no power.
No power.
No access to the back of your house. And at this point, you're wondering whether or not perhaps the city might pay for this or whether you're responsible for all of it, because you say you have complained about these ash trees that are actually, the one that came into your house was actually sitting on the other side of this fence in this park behind your house.
Yes, they were cutting them down, and then they just got to where they was letting them fall down. And this is one that fell, and they're going to pay for my roof.
We're certainly going to stay in contact with Anita Ellis. I appreciate so much you talking to us. We will stay in touch with you throughout the night just to see what happens as emergency crews hopefully get here and help you, but also moving forward as we find out who is responsible for paying for the damage.
Thank you so much.
One more look, if Michael, you can show a little bit of what happened. This is Dayton Fieldstone Drive. Some of the worst damage we have seen so far from the storms that passed through. But right now, a lot of puddling, very wet and muddy out here, but no rain falling at this point. We'll stay out here and let you know how conditions change. Live in Dayton, Kate Bartley, News Center 7.
All right, thank you, Kate. We have been on the air here at News Center 7 since before 4 o'clock because of a series of tornado warnings that moved through our area. We are currently not under a tornado warning. We are under a tornado watch until 8 p.m., and our meteorologists McCall and Brett are closely monitoring that. The tornado warnings moved from Preble and Montgomery counties to Greene to Clark. Parts of Champaign, parts of Miami County were affected by these warnings. Again, no warnings right now, and we've had no injuries reported. That is good news, but you've seen damaged right there. The woman in Dayton who has a tree on top of her house. We've got trees down, branches down, power lines down, power outages. Greene County seems to be the most affected right now, with about 1,400 people out of power in Greene County waiting for the lights to come back on. We've seen flooding, debris on the roads. Good night to stay inside, even though things seem to be calm right now. More weather is on the way. Our Lauren Clark, I believe, has made her way to South Charleston, which we had reports of a tornado that was close to South Charleston. Lauren, tell us what's going on out in South Charleston right now.
Cheryl, we were actually working our way there because we were getting so many reports of damage, but we're dealing with what a lot of folks out on the roadways right now are seeing as well. Road closed signs all over the place in Greene County. So we actually got out of our SUV just to check out the situation here. We're on Hilltop Road between Beaver Creek and Xenia. Now that road runs along the Little Miami. This is a creek, Ludlow Creek, that extends from there. And you can see even the flooding here well into this field over here on my right. Now, we're going to walk down here a little bit, get a look at this road. But as we were approaching, we passed another driver who said he was also trying to get to that same area, the South Charleston area, and had been driving and had not yet been able to get there because the standard route, the route that our GPS was taking us, was leading to too many blocked roads. That's because of that flooding that we've been dealing with. Not only did we see those very strong storms move through a little bit ago, but we had rain all morning as well. So a lot of communities, particularly here in Greene County, are really dealing with that at this point. Now, in the next few minutes, we are going to hop back into our car. We are going to try to get to that South Charleston area where we have received reports of that tornadic activity. And we're going to try to check out what we see. We'll show you that damage as soon as we get there. For now, reporting live in Greene County, I'm Lauren Clark, News Center 7.
Lauren, and stay safe as you travel. McCall, you know, we keep seeing all this water out there, and we already had record rainfall today.
Yes.
As you pointed out earlier, and now it looks like we're in for more.
Yeah, we've got another round of rain that's going to be moving in. We've got live Doppler 7 radar up for you. You can see scanning the skies, and we're going to continue to track this first line of storms moving off to the east. And then we're going to get another round of storms coming in. If we can go ahead and take radar full screen, I can show you a little bit closer about what we're expecting. But what you do see on live Doppler 7 radar is that purple shading, and that purple shading is a flash flood warning, and that's in response to the rainfall that we had earlier today, and then this second round of wet weather and stormy activity that came through over the last few hours. Flash flood warning continues until 7 o'clock this evening, including a good chunk of the Miami Valley, including Dark, Miami, Montgomery, Preble, and Shelby counties. We've got Butler, Warren, parts of Clinton County. We've got Greene County as well, Champaign, Logan. So really, even if you're not under that flash flood warning, just keep an eye out for the potential of flash flooding into tonight, because we do have a flash flood watch everywhere until 2 a.m. So what's the difference between a watch and a warning? Watch means get prepared that you may have the potential of flash flooding due to weather moving in. Flash flood warning is it's happening or occurring. So a good majority of the area is dealing with the flash flooding now. Those areas that are not under the flash flood warning, Mercer, Auglaize County, you're under a watch. You could potentially see some flash flooding later tonight. We still have a tornado watch in effect until 8 o'clock this evening for everyone. We will monitor that. We did see a cluster of storms that came through that did bring us that severe weather. You can see our live camera shot here behind us. This is showing us that there are some breaks in the clouds taking place. And it is the breaks in the clouds that are going to be something we have to watch out for, because it's going to help the environment to re-energize and destabilize itself as well. There is a picture in the lower left-hand side of your screen. I'm not sure if you can really see it that well from the small box there, but in the distance, you've got the pergola in the foreground. There's a barn in the background, and that barn is heavily damaged by the storms that had come through earlier on, just about the last hour or two. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on that. That's one of our Facebook followers that had sent that in to us. Temperature is still sitting at 61 degrees, and we've got those winds out of the south at 8 miles an hour. With the sunshine breaking out, we still have another about hour and a half before sunset. These temperatures could continue to climb before the cold front even gets here. So that's why we have that threat for some more strong weather coming in. Temperature map everywhere. 66 degrees in Springboro, believe it or not, even after these storms have come through. 62 in Eaton, 62 in Liberty, even still sitting at 59 degrees in Salina. And that's where you saw continual rainfall most of today. You were the one that was holding on to that rain for a lot longer before this round of storms came in. Here is satellite and radar in motion. There is the line of storms that came in. Shortly after 4 o'clock, we started to see severe thunderstorm warnings being issued, then a tornado warning, and we had a couple of tornado warnings as this line was moving from west to east. This is round one. Round two now starting to push into western parts of Indiana. And this is also just a 2-hour loop. And you can see what 2 hours ago wasn't much has now really fired off and really organized itself. And it is moving into an environment where the clouds have broken apart. We've got the sunshine. Again, keep in mind, we're going to get more sunshine, and temperatures right now sitting in the 60s. They could be pushing back into those mid to upper 60s before this line gets here. So we are certainly going to be watching that very, very closely. Don't want to put your guard down quite yet as we are watching the threat for even more severe weather coming in. And of course, we're going to continue to update you here on Channel 7 if necessary. We will be continuing to bring you that live coverage. We also can stream live on WHIO.com, and we've also got you covered on 95.7 FM AM 1290 if you do have to be out on the roadways this evening. If you do not have to be on the roads, I'd say stay home tonight. Keep the WHIO weather app on hand. Make sure your phone is fully charged because we've got a couple thousand people now that are already without power. And with this next line coming in, there's the potential that we may lose power in other areas as well. So we are going to watch this next round of storms coming in. Right now, it's just the calm before that second wave. Cheryl.
McCall, as you mentioned, we are under tornado watch until 8 p.m. We've been on the air for 2 hours now because of tornado warnings that have passed through our area. And currently, we are under no warnings. As McCall mentioned, we've had no injuries, but we're getting lots of reports of damage around the area. Mike Campbell is on the Xenia Township, Beaver Creek Township line in Greene County. And Greene County has seen its share of roof damage, trees down, power lines down. Mike, what are you seeing where you are?
Well, Cheryl, I can tell you that we are on Ludlow Road. That's between Trabine Road and Linebaugh Road here. And it's kind of on, as you mentioned, the line between Beaver Creek Township and Xenia Township. And behind me, we are showing you a power pole that has come down because of the storm that came through. It's hanging over the road. They have the road blocked at this point. And then behind that, you can see that there is a barn that has a roof torn off. And just as we drove up here, we passed another barn with its roof torn off. And again, right now, at one end of this road, we have Beaver Creek Township firefighters blocking the road. At the other end, Xenia Township firefighters blocking the road because of those power lines that are down across this road right now. Now, we are joined right now by Scott Dorston from the Beaver Creek Township Fire Department. And Scott, we were just going to ask you kind of what you've been hearing, what this storm is part of in this area.
It's part of that line of thunderstorms came through about 5:15. The damage goes from here at least up to Clifton Road from what I've been informed by the EMA. I do not know the extent of the damage that way, but it looks like the start is in the 1000 block of Ludlow Road. And we do have significant damage to a barn, some minor to moderate damage to another house that is on that same property. And the damage, as you were pointing out, continues to the northeast, up Ludlow, across 235, up towards the Clifton Road area. I don't know what the extent of the damage is outside of Beaver Creek Township. We've been on scene roughly a half hour now, and we're still doing some information gathering at this time. There are no injuries in this area.
And that was what I was going to ask you. He has calls coming in right now as we talk about this, but no reports of any injuries in this area at least.
Right, correct. At least I can confirm that within Beaver Creek Township there are no injuries. I do not know what Xenia Township or the other jurisdictions are dealing with at this time as far as injuries. I'm not aware of any, but like I say, I can't confirm for them.
When it came through this area, I don't know if you guys were at the station at that point, but I mean, what were you seeing? What were you hearing?
I was at the station at Dayton, Xenia, and Orchard Lane. It was just a typical strong thunderstorm came through, very little rain, and all of a sudden it was just heavy downpour. And about 30 minutes after that is when our crews got called out to this area. And they were called out initially on wires down, and as they were proceeding up here, we started noticing the other damage associated with this.
So at this point, I'm obviously too early to tell whether straight line winds or anything else, but have you had anyone calling about funnel clouds, spotting those type of things?
Not at this time. I haven't heard any reports of that. But the damage does appear to be more than straight line winds when you start looking at some of the patterns with the damage where it proceeds through at least Beaver Creek Township, and I'm hearing the same thing from the chiefs from Xenia and Xenia Township as well.
And at this point, at least on this scene, you know, you keep the road blocked until DP&L crews can come.
Yeah, really at this point it's a matter of getting the power restored. First would be the power along Ludlow Road, and then to any properties associated with the damage on Ludlow.
All right, thank you very much,
All right.
Scott Dorson from the Beaver Creek Township Fire Department. And again, as we just got here within the last 10 minutes or so, as we were driving up the road, we could see a couple of barns that had a roof torn off, and now we are hearing one house that may have some moderate damage to it. But again, right now, this road, Ludlow Road here in Greene County, kind of at the Beaver Creek Xenia Township line, it's closed because of the fact that the one pole could not stand up to the wind, and it's come down and is hanging over the road in a very dangerous situation. And as we look at some of the houses on this road, it does not look like they have power, so it's very possible that the power is also out in this area because of the storm that swept through. Now we're going to toss it back to the studio and see if we can get in position to show you some of the other places affected in this area where we are here on Ludlow Road. For now, reporting live in Greene County, Mike Campbell, News Center 7.
Thanks, Mike, and be careful as you travel. Jim Nolker has been out and about for us, one of our videographers, and he's got a house on Clifton Road where the barn has part of its roof torn off. Is that what we're seeing in this particular video? Okay, so this is Clifton Road in Greene County. We're told the barn has the roof off. There is, yeah, you can see the skeleton.